Hello everyone and welcome back to Beef Reacts. Why is everything so loud today? Do I normally talk this loud? I don't think I do. Sorry, my levels were going into the red, which means danger. Yeah. Danger. Is it too close to me? Is that the problem? It has to be too close to me. That must be the problem. Fuck it. Damn it. Alright, well, yellow dollar sign. So anyway, welcome back to Beef Reacts, and today we're checking out The Ones Who Walk Away from OMELAS by Ursula K. Le Guin. It looks spooky. I was told to listen to it. I was told it's a great story. I enjoy stories. You know, I'm bad at reading. I'm not particularly good at writing. And I will say my best trait is bullshitting. And we'll be doing that plenty today. On top of everything, I just wanted to say hello. Happy Tuesday. And yeah, let's jump into some vibes. Already a great soundscape, because they didn't have to add the ocean waves. Or seagulls.
The ones who walk away from OMELAS.
Oh?
With a clamor of bells that set the swallows soaring, the festival of summer came to the city OMELAS, bright towered by the sea.
What is that picking up? How can that be heard right now? Well, that's frustrating. 1 second, everyone. I hate when things get picked up that shouldn't be able to be picked up. Oh, I don't have a filter. That's why. Limiter, add, threshold, -6. That's what we like to see, baby. Yeah, this is... Did somebody messed with my things, guys? Am I going to get rid of any of this? I have no idea. And we're going to add a noise gate. Add. Open threshold. Yeah, that's what we like to see. All right, there we go. Not disgusting sound, hopefully.
The rigging of the boats in harbor sparkled with flags. In the streets between houses with red roofs and painted walls, between old moss-grown gardens, and under avenues of trees, past great parks and public buildings, processions moved. Some were decorous, old people in long stiff robes of mauve and gray, grave master workmen, quiet, merry women carrying their babies and chatting as they walked.
I will say the first thing I'm noticing almost immediately about this is his voice is like pronounced while also kind of blending in with its vocals, which can be a double-edged sword sometimes depending on what you're going for, and depending on the way the rest of the story goes, it could either really help it or really hurt it. It kind of depends on, like I said, the mood you're trying to set and the tone you're going for, because with the bells, with the voice, with the ocean, with everything going on in this soundscape, that is fantastic, and it blends together really well. However, if you're sucking me into the ambiance right now, which I'm losing because obviously I'm not currently listening, but like, if it's sucking me in, at some point I'm not going to be hearing what he's saying. So I do wonder how this like mix is going to go forward in a lot of ways, if that makes sense.
Other streets, the music beat faster, a shimmering of gong and tambourine, and the people went dancing. The procession was a dance. Children dodged in and out, their high calls rising, like the swallows crossing flights over the music and the singing. All the processions wound towards the north side of the city, where on the great water meadow called the Green Fields, boys and girls, naked in the bright air.
I say that, and immediately Hey, guys, I can't make this shit up. Like, I don't watch any of this stuff beforehand or listen to it or anything. I can't make it up. It just simply the soundscape goes down and the vocals go up. Jesus fucking Christ.
With mud-stained feet and ankles and long, lithe arms, exercised their restive horses before the race.
That's nice of them.
The horses wore no gear at all, but a halter without bit. Their manes were braided with streamers of silver, gold, and green. They flared their nostrils and pranced and boasted to one another. They were vastly excited, the horse being the only animal who has adopted our ceremonies as his own. Far off to the north and west, the mountains stood up half-encircling OMELAS on her bay. The air of morning was so clear that the snow still crowning the 18 peaks burned with white gold fire across the miles of sunlit air under the dark blue of the sky. There was just enough wind to make the banners that marked the racecourse snap and flutter now and then. In the silence of the broad green meadows, one could hear the music winding through the city streets, farther and nearer, and ever approaching, a cheerful faint sweetness of the air that from time to time trembled and gathered together and broke out into the great joyous clanging of the bells.
Listen, something wicked has to happen here. Not for me, but because it's getting too cheery too quick for a 20-minute audio story. I feel like I'm about to experience a sense of dread that I didn't know was a thing. It's called the Oddcast. It's tales of the occult, weird, and arcane. There has to be something going on here that I am not going to be happy to hear. And by the way, I say this often, but like obviously if no one watches or not many people watch often or watch a lot of my content, I usually have to end up sounding like a broken record sometimes because of it. The goal of media is not to make you happy. The goal of anything in life that is an artistic expression is not to make you feel good about yourself or feel happy. And the faster an audience can understand that, the more likely everyone is, in the overall meta sense, to be fulfilled through that piece of art. So, if the intention of this is to make me scared, eerie, and terrified, and by the end, I feel eerie, I get chills down my spine, well then it did a good fucking job. On the flip side, if the entire point of this was to be like, wow, this OMELAS place is pretty dope, I want to be there. Yeah, I know I'm looking at a starving child, but I sure want to be at OMELAS right now. And I'm scared. Well, then we can talk about where that artist failed in doing what they were looking to do with their piece. Like, that's ultimately what it is. The worst thing media can do is make you feel indifferent.
Joyous. How is one to tell about joy?
Oh, God.
How describe the citizens of OMELAS? They were not simple folk, you see, though they were happy. But we do not say the words of cheer much anymore. All smiles have become archaic. Given a description such as this one tends to make certain assumptions. Given a description such as this one tends to look next for the king, mounted on a splendid stallion and surrounded by his noble knights, or perhaps in a golden litter borne by great muscled slaves. But there was no king. They did not use swords or keep slaves. They were not barbarians. I do not know the rules and laws of their society, but I suspect that they were singularly few. As they did without monarchy and slavery, so they also got on without the stock exchange, the advertisement, the secret police, and the bomb. Yet I repeat that these were not simple folk, not dulcet shepherds, noble savages, bland utopians. They were not less complex than us. The trouble is that we have a bad habit, encouraged by pedants and sophisticates, of considering happiness as something rather stupid. Only pain is intellectual, only evil interesting. This is the treason of the artist.
What? What? Sorry, let me go back 30 seconds and rehear this, because what?
Less complex than us. Yet I repeat that these were not simple folk, not dulcet shepherds, noble savages, bland utopians. They were not less complex than us. The trouble is that we have a bad habit, encouraged by pedants and sophisticates, of considering happiness as something rather stupid. Only pain is intellectual, only evil interesting. This is the treason of the artist, a refusal to admit the banality of evil and the terrible boredom of pain.
What?
If you can't lick 'em, join 'em. If it hurts, repeat it. But to praise despair is to condemn delight.
To praise despair is to condemn delight. What? But if you take delight in despair, like I don't know how to explain it, but it reminds me of like I don't know. Like I'm trying to commentate the best I possibly can here. And like there's something about that line that doesn't sit right with me. To praise despair is to condemn delight. Why is that wrong? Well, because I can take delight in despair, right? Like I can, like Schadenfreude, right? Isn't that the whole thing where you take delight in other people's pain? And like the artist, where it's like the artist focuses on like pain or things like that. It's like, well, yes and no. It's like in the same regard, the artist finds not the beauty in pain, but it finds the worthwhile in the struggle. It writes, it adapts, it creates, it makes something out of what the general point of the world is, which is that it's fallen. So like this doesn't, like, I can sit there and I can say the same fucking words you're saying, but use a different tone and convey a different meaning. Not in a bad way, but in just a way of just reality. Because reality is just reality. I don't know. I can't really explain it other than like bad shit be happening. But just because bad shit happens doesn't mean that delight doesn't exist. Like maybe I'm missing the point, which is very fair.
Repeated. But to praise despair is to condemn delight. To embrace violence is to lose hold of everything else. We have almost lost hold. We can no longer describe a happy man, nor make any celebration of joy. How can I tell you about the people of OMELAS? They were not naive and happy children, though their children were, in fact, happy. They were mature, intelligent, passionate adults whose lives were not wretched. No miracle, but I wish I could describe it better. I wish I could convince you. OMELAS sounds, in my words, like a city in a fairy tale. Long ago and far away, once upon a time. Perhaps it would be best if you imagined it as your own fancy bids, assuming it will rise to the occasion. For certainly, I cannot suit you all. For instance, how about technology? I think that there would be no cars or helicopters in and above the streets. This follows from the fact that the people of OMELAS are happy people. Happiness is based on a just discrimination of what is necessary, what is neither necessary nor destructive, and what is destructive. In the middle category, however, that of the unnecessary but undestructive.
I feel like this would be better if I could read along with it. Holy shit, why don't I just put on closed captions? There we go. Look at me solving my own problems like an idiot. Because I feel like this person's saying a lot of things that sound incredibly deep, but also being contradictory, hyperbolic. Like, this is... I don't know. Like, it's like bro's giving a Holden Caulfield attitude of everyone's phony. And I know I'm, like, completely wrong in saying that, but it's like there's something here that's... Let's see.
Based on a just discrimination of what is necessary, what is neither necessary nor destructive, and what is destructive. In the middle category, however, that of the unnecessary but undestructive, that of comfort, luxury, exuberance, etc. They could perfectly well have central heating, subway trains, washing machines, and all kinds of marvelous devices not yet invented here. Floating light sources, fuelless power, a cure for the common cold. Or they could have none of that. It doesn't matter. As you like it. I incline to think that people from towns up and down the coast have been coming into OMELAS during the last days before the festival on the very fast little trains and double-decked trams, and that the train station of OMELAS is actually the handsomest building in town, though plainer than the magnificent farmer's market. But even granted trains, I fear that OMELAS so far strikes some of you as goody-goody.
So, are you trying to tell people not to come to OMELAS? Also, I know you can't really see it too well, but what makes this incredibly funny to me is that they have not spelled OMELAS correct once in these captions.
Smiles, bells, parades, horses, blah. If so, please add an orgy. If an orgy would help, don't hesitate. Let us not, however, have temples from which issue beautiful nude priests and priestesses already half in ecstasy and ready to copulate with any man or woman, lover or stranger, who desires union with the deep godhead of the blood. Although, that was my first idea. But it really would be better not to have any temples in OMELAS. At least, not manned temples. Religion, yes. Clergy, no. Surely the beautiful nudes can just wander about, offering themselves like divine soufflés to the hunger of the needy and the rapture of the flesh.
Incel. Incel. It's some incel shit. I'm not saying that to, like, mock it. I'm saying it as in that's literally a Reddit thread on r/incel. That, there should be naked women who go around and fuck the needy. Like, what the fuck?
Let them join the processions. Let tambourines be struck above the copulations, and the glory of desire be proclaimed upon the gongs. And, a not unimportant point, let the offspring of these delightful rituals be loved and looked after by all. One thing I know there is none of in OMELAS is guilt. But what else should there be? I thought at first there were not drugs, but that is puritanical.
Well, if there is no guilt, then how do you know it exists? If there is no blank, then how do you know it exists? Like, how can this... Is this a citizen of OMELAS as the narrator, or is this someone who was born and bred in this town? Because now it's like this person's talking about OMELAS in this way of there is no this, but there is this, and there is no this, but there is this. Like, huh? And by the way, this might be way too intellectual of a novel. Guys, I can't read above like a maybe 10th grade level. I'm not a good reader. Never have been. Great storyteller. I'm good at making shit up. But analyzing? I'm kidding. I'm okay at it. But, like, I keep going back, and I do apologize if this is annoying, because I'm trying to digest this information, and, like, it is kind of hard to, like, listen to this person talking, because they are very wordy, and they are very much, like, telling without showing anything. This is an entire everything so far has been technically expositional piece writing. There is no this, there is no that. Like, you're telling me definitives without giving me the opportunity to make up my own interpretation of what OMELAS is like.
There is none of in OMELAS is guilt.
How do you know that?
But what else should there be? I thought at first there were not drugs, but that is puritanical. For those who like it, the faint insistent sweetness of drues may perfume the ways of the city. Drues which first brings a great lightness and brilliance to the mind and limbs. Then after some hours a dreamy languor, and wonderful visions at the last of the very arcana and inmost secrets of the universe, as well as exciting the pleasure of sex beyond belief. And it is not habit-forming. For more modest tastes, I think there ought to be beer. What else?
It is not habit-forming, and it lets you see God? And not everyone is on this 24/7?
What else belongs in the joyous city? The sense of victory, surely the celebration of courage. But as we did without clergy, let us do without soldiers. The joy built upon successful slaughter is not the right kind of joy. It will not do. It is fearful, and it is trivial. A boundless and generous contentment. A magnanimous triumph felt not against some outer enemy, but in communion with the finest and fairest in the souls of all men everywhere, and the splendor of the world's summer. This is what swells the hearts of the people of OMELAS, and the victory they celebrate is that of life. I really don't think many of them need to take drues. Most of the procession have reached the green fields by now. A marvelous smell of cooking goes forth from the red and blue tents of the provisioners. The faces of small children are amiably sticky. In the benign gray beard of a man, a couple of crumbs of rich pastry are entangled. The youths and girls have mounted their horses and are beginning to group around the starting line of the course. An old woman, small, fat, and laughing, is passing out flowers from a basket, and tall young men wear her flowers in their shining hair. A child of 9 or 10 sits at the edge of the crowd, alone, playing on a wooden flute. People pause to listen, and they smile, but they do not speak to him, for he never ceases playing, and never sees them, his dark eyes wholly wrapped in the sweet, thin magic of the tune. He finishes, and slowly lowers his hands holding the wooden flute. As if that little private silence were the signal, all at once a trumpet sounds from the pavilion near the starting line. Imperious, melancholy, piercing. Their horses rear on their slender legs, and some of them neigh in answer. Sober-faced, the young riders stroke the horses' necks and soothe them, whispering, "Quiet, quiet. There, my beauty, my hope." They begin to form in rank along the starting line. The crowds along the race course are like a field of grass and flowers in the wind. The festival of summer has begun. Do you believe? Do you accept the festival? The city? The joy? No? Then let me describe one more thing.
Do I accept the city, the joy? No, because at no point did you ever... You didn't... you didn't express joy. You didn't use a single moniker, a single adjective, a single word to indicate any type of happiness, any type of joyous expression. The fuck do you mean, do I accept this city, the joy? No! No, I don't fucking accept it for the sheer fact of you didn't fucking describe it. You described to me this utopian city where instead of having... Oh, sorry. They don't even have religious clergy, but you want them to have clergy people go out and fuck other people. Okay? You described to me a non-habit forming drug that lets you see God. You basically described to me hell. What you have described is a world with aimless people. A society with nothing, with fuck all to do. And you're saying, do you accept this joy? Fuck no! There is no joy in this fucking city. This sounds like Ohio. If I'm being completely real with everyone, this sounds like fucking Cleveland, Ohio. God damn.
In a basement, under one of the beautiful public buildings of OMELAS, or perhaps in the cellar of one of its spacious private homes, there is a room. It has one locked door and no window.
Sure.
A little light seeps in dustily between cracks in the boards, secondhand from a cobwebbed window somewhere across the cellar. In one corner of the little room, a couple of mops with stiff, clotted, foul-smelling heads stand near a rusty bucket. The floor is dirt, a little damp to the touch, as cellar dirt usually is. The room is about 3 paces long and 2 wide, a mere broom closet or disused tool room. In the room, a child is sitting. It could be a boy or a girl. It looks about 6, but actually is nearly 10. It is feeble-minded. Perhaps it was born defective. Or perhaps it has become imbecile through fear, malnutrition, and neglect. It picks its nose and occasionally fumbles vaguely with its toes or genitals as it sits hunched in the corner farthest from the bucket and the 2 mops. It is afraid of the mops. It finds them horrible. It shuts its eyes. But it knows the mops are still standing there, and the door is locked, and nobody will come. The door is always locked, and nobody ever comes, except that sometimes the child has no understanding of time or interval. Sometimes the door rattles terribly and opens, and a person or several people are there. One of them may come in and kick the child to make it stand up. The others never come close, but peer at it with frightened, disgusted eyes. The food bowl and the water jug are hastily filled. The door is locked. The eyes disappear. The people at the door never say anything, but the child, who has not always lived in the tool room.
Is this a weird metaphor about pet ownership? Like abusing a pet? I'm not even saying that to be like a dick. Like, I'm saying, like, sounds very eerily similar to how, like, some dogs are treated. You keep them in small fucking cages, you feed them and you water them, and you let them sit and shit and piss in their own fucking spot where they're supposed to sleep. Like, this sounds like animal abuse. Now, this is actually child abuse in the story, but I'm just saying it sounds akin to what you would do with animal abuse.
And can remember sunlight, and its mother's voice sometimes speaks. I will be good, it says. Please let me out. I will be good. They never answer. The child used to scream for help at night and cry a good deal. Now it only makes a kind of whining, ee-ah, ee-ah, and it speaks less and less often. It is so thin there are no calves to its legs.
Oh.
Its belly protrudes. It lives on a half bowl of cornmeal and grease a day. It is naked. Its buttocks and thighs are a mess of festered sores as it sits in its own excrement continually. They all know it is there. All the people of OMELAS.
Oh.
Some of them have come to see it. Others are content merely to know it is there. They all know that it has to be there. Some of them understand why, and some do not. But they all understand that their happiness, the beauty of their city, the tenderness of their friendships, the health of their children, the wisdom of their scholars, the skill of their makers, even the abundance of their harvest, and the kindly weathers of their skies, depend wholly on this child's abominable misery.
Oh, so is this one of those situations where, by the way, this author does a really good job of being descriptive, but I will say that I don't think they did that great at describing this as a utopian city, besides just telling me it was a utopian city. Like, you didn't describe utopia to me, you described hell on earth. That's just me, though. Like, everything that you have just said that this city does, that it's great at, it has no guilt. Well, if it has no guilt, then what happens when I do something wrong? Like, that's the whole point of guilt, is that if you do something that you deem is wrong, it is your way, your conscience saying, like, this wasn't okay. And a lot of people think if we lived without guilt, then everything would just somehow fix itself, and that's just not fucking realistic, guys. That's just not how life works. So, like, honestly, my thought process here is they sacrifice this one child to undergo all of this misery so that way they can have happiness. Which, if you wanted to go into, like, a larger, like, real-world thematics of it, maybe it's talking about unfair conditions that first-world societies have while taking advantage of third-world countries, would be my main thought, because it's kind of like you have kids in China working for, like, 50 cents a day and dealing with child labor laws, while I get to wear the sneakers that they make, and I have no problem doing that. Now, mind you, I actually do have a problem doing that, but in the same regard, like, I made this computer. I have absolutely no idea excuse me, what the fucking business practices are of AMD processors, because I don't know. I just have the product. And that's the thing. These people have utopia, and some of them, they all know, though. This is the contrast. They all fucking know what's being done so that way they can live in happiness. Would I rather misery so this child could live? Yeah, 100%. I thrive at miserable. Everyone knows that about me. I thrive at miserable. But that's just me.
This is usually explained to children when they are between 8 and 12, whenever they seem capable of understanding, and most of those who come to see the child are young people, though often enough an adult comes back to see the child. No matter how well the matter has been explained to them, these young spectators are always shocked and sickened at the sight.
Yep.
They feel disgust, which they had thought themselves superior to.
Oh, they don't feel guilt, though. They just feel disgust, which I'd argue that disgust is a prerequisite for guilt.
They feel anger, outrage,
Yep.
impotence.
Yep.
Despite all the explanations. They would like to do something for the child.
Okay.
But there is nothing they can do.
Lie.
If the child were brought up into the sunlight out of that vile place, if it were cleaned and fed and comforted, that would be a good thing indeed. But if it were done, in that day and hour, all the prosperity and beauty and delight of OMELAS would wither and be destroyed. Those are the terms. To exchange all the goodness and grace of every life in OMELAS for that single, small improvement, to throw away the happiness of thousands for the chance of the happiness of one. That would be to let guilt within the walls, indeed. The term.
Maybe guilt's a good thing. Like, not sitting here and saying that when your fucking father shamed you for being a homosexual, that's the same fucking thing as, like, feeling bad for being a shitty fucking person. There's levels to guilt, everyone. Alright? Your significant other cheats on you? Yes, you should feel fucking guilty, or yeah, he should feel fucking guilty about it. They should feel like shit. They should be shamed. Bring back shame, god damn it. Yeah, I'd shame the whole fucking city. I'd walk in here and shame these bitches. I'd be like, there's a fucking child in a basement, you son of a bitch. So instead of allowing and breaking this child out, these people would rather walk away from their happiness, their utopia. Fuck you.
Terms are strict and absolute. There may
Nope.
not even be a kind word spoken to the child.
Kill him.
Often the young people go home in tears,
Kill him.
or in a tearless rage, when they have seen the child and faced this terrible paradox. They may brood over it for weeks,
Yep.
years.
Kill
As
them.
time goes on, they begin to realize that even if the child could be released, it would not get much good of its freedom. A little vague pleasure of warmth and food, no doubt, but little more. It is too degraded and imbecile to know any real joy.
And you're allowed to make that decision. Why? Why is anyone in this town allowed to make this decision about this child's life when they have never once given a fuck about this child? How is that fair? How does that even remotely work? And, like, on top of all of that, like, you forced me to care about this story when I didn't want to. Like, you forced me into this position. You forced me you forced me, I mean, like, the actual story itself. Like you have created a situation where you have described what you're saying is utopia, where it clearly is not utopian. It's just disgusting. And by the way, for any utopia to exist, you need to oppress all minorities and all people for the most part. They're like, and by the way, that does not mean that, like, people of color or something like that in a utopian society are going to be oppressed. I mean, like, if you want a world where only smart people exist, you gotta kill the fucking dumb ones. No, they're just born smart. That's through eugenics. That is 100% through eugenics. Nope. You don't just, oh, he was born stupid, so we made him smart. You're probably eating him. Realistically, you're probably fucking eating him. I'm saying all this now because it's like you're giving yourself justifications for evil while saying that, like, the artist delights in the banal of evil. You are committing great evil because you're denying this child the chance at love for the sheer fact of your own sick and disgusting self-pursuit of pleasure. You're all fucking amoral pieces of shit, and I hope this entire town is destroyed. I hope the only one who walks away is this child, so that way it can find love and happiness and deserve it. No, I would not live here. No, I would not partake in this fucking festival. And you know what? I don't enjoy it. I find your town to be ill and disgusting. And honestly, I'd march around it. I'd blow a trumpet on the 7th day, and just like Jericho, the fucking walls will come down.
It has been afraid too long, ever to be free of fear.
I will piss on your fucking racetrack.
Its habits are too uncouth for it to respond to humane treatment.
Shut the fuck up.
Indeed, after so long, it would probably be wretched without walls about to protect it.
Shut
And
up.
darkness for its eyes, and its own excrement to sit in. Their tears at the bitter injustice dry when they begin to perceive the terrible justice of reality and to accept it. Yet it is their tears and anger, the trying of their generosity and the acceptance of their helplessness, which are perhaps the true source of the splendor of their lives. Theirs is no vapid, irresponsible happiness. They know that they, like the child, are not free. They know compassion. It is the existence of the child, and their knowledge of its existence, that makes possible the nobility of their architecture, the poignancy of their music, the profundity of their science.
No.
It is because of the child that they are so gentle with their children.
No.
They know that if the wretched one were not there sniffling in the dark, the other one, the flute player, could make no joyful music as the young riders line up in their beauty for the race in the sunlight of the first morning of summer.
No. I disagree with your presupposition. I disagree with your position entirely. If the child is not there, then the flute player struggles to make his music, and he finds the beauty within the struggle to make it more beautiful, to make it more astounding. The mother missteps with her child and they are upset about something. You have hindered this entire community upon the guilt of not wanting this child dead, or by feeling bad for this, and then somehow, no, fuck you, fuck all of you, fuck it, fuck everyone in this fucking town, dude. You all are a bunch of pussies. Fuck
now,
you.
do you believe in them? Are they not more credible? But there is one more thing to tell.
No, they're not.
And this is quite incredible. At times, one of the adolescent girls or boys who go to see the child does not go home to weep or rage, does not, in fact, go home at all. Sometimes also a man or a woman much older falls silent for a day or two, and then leaves home. These people go out into the street and walk down the street alone. They keep walking and walk straight out of the city of OMELAS.
Thank God.
Through the beautiful gates. They keep walking across the farmlands of OMELAS. Each one goes alone, youth or girl, man or woman. Night falls. The traveler must pass down village streets, between the houses with yellow-lit windows, and on out into the darkness of the fields. Each alone, they go west or north towards the mountains. They go on. They leave OMELAS. They walk ahead into the darkness, and they do not come back. The place they go towards is a place even less imaginable to most of us than the city of happiness.
It's not a city of happiness. You did not... What makes me so mad is either I miss something, or I just quite literally do not define happiness the same way that these people do. Because this writer at no point described a happy city to me. They just described hell.
I cannot describe it all. It is possible that it does not exist. But they seem to know where they are going. The ones who walk away from OMELAS.
Wow, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you don't mind, just like, comment, share, subscribe. My thoughts are, it's weird. I did not enjoy the story, which is a good thing. Because I believe this story is supposed to make you feel angry, supposed to make you feel distraught, upset. It's not supposed to make you feel a happy emotion. And it's supposed to give you this uplifting end that there are people that will walk away and are people, but they don't fucking save the child. That's the problem. So they're still content in the misery. They're content in the fact that this kid cannot exist. I'd fucking destroy the city. Yeah, let him out. No, okay, fuck you. Cause that's what compassion is. That's what's caring. What? Oh, they felt so bad. They felt silent that they had to walk away from utopia. Fuck you. That's still... Being complacent in evil is the same as being evil. And I don't give a fuck what anyone says. That complacency, if you're not going to at least outwardly express your discontent, you are practically the same as fucking not taking the food from that child's mouth. Anyway. Question of the day. If you have any other audio stories you'd like me to listen to, please let me know in the comments down below. I hope all of you enjoy. Peace out and have a good one.